Discuss about the Open Boat is a short story by American author Stephen Crane. First published in 1897, it was based on Crane's experience of surviving a shipwreck off the coast of Florida earlier that year while traveling to Cuba to work as a newspaper correspondent. Crane was stranded at sea for 30 hours when his ship, the SS Commodore, sank after hitting a sandbar. He and three other men were forced to navigate their way to shore in a small boat. One of the men, an oiler named Billy Higgins, drowned after the boat overturned. Crane's personal account of the shipwreck and the man's surviving title, Stephen Crane's Own Story, was first published a few days after his rescue. Crane subsequently adapted his report into narrative form, and the resulting short uh, and the so Crane subsequently adapted his report into narrative form, and the resulting short uh, story, The Open Board, was published in uh, Scribner's magazine. The story is told from the point of view of an anonymous correspondent, with Crane as the implied author. The action closely resembles the author's experience after the shipwreck. A volume titled The Open Boat and the Other Tales of Adventure was published in the United States in 1898. An edition entitled The Open Boat and Other Stories was published simultaneously in England. Praised for its innovation by contemporary critics, the story is considered an uh, exemplary work of literary naturalism and is one of the most frequent discussed works in Crane's canon. It is notable for its use of imagery, irony, symbolism, and the exploration of such themes as survival, solidarity, and the conflict between man and nature. H.G. Wells considered The Open Boat to be beyond all question the crown of all work. Now the plot summary is: The Open Board is divided into 7 sections, each told mainly from the point of view of the correspondent based upon Crane himself. The first part introduces the four characters: the correspondent, a condensed condescending observer detached from the rest of the group, the captain, who is injured and morose at having lost his ship, yet capable of leadership, the cook, fat and comical but optimistic that they will be rescued, and the oiler, Billy, who is physically the strongest and the only one in the story referred to by name. The four are surveyors of the shipwreck, which occurred before the beginning of the story, and are drifting at the sea in a small uh, dinghy. In the following four sections, the moods of the men fluctuate from anger to their desperate situation to a growing empathy for one another and the sudden realization that nature is indifferent to their fates. The men become fatigued and bicker with one another. Nevertheless, the oiler and the correspondent take turns rowing towards shore, while the cook bails water to keep the boat uh, afloat. When they see a lighthouse on the horizon, their hope is tempered with the realization for the danger of trying to reach it. Their hopes dwindle further when, after seeing a man waving from shore and who may or may not be another boat. They fail to make contact. The correspondent and the oiler continue to take turns rowing while the others sleep fitfully during the night. This correspondent then notices a shark swimming near the boat, but he does not seem to be bothered by it as one would expect. In the penultimate chapter, the correspondent rarely recalls a verse from the poem begun on the Rihin by Caroline Northen, in which a soldier of the Legion dies from home. The final chapter begins with the name's resolution to abandon the floundering dignity they have occupied for 30 hours and to swim ashore. As they begin the long swim to the beach, Billy the oilier, the strongest of the four, swims ahead of the others. The captain advances towards the shore while still holding on to the boat, and the cook uses a surviving oar. The correspondent is trapped by the local current but is eventually able to swim on. After three of the men safely reach the shore and are met by a group of rescuers, they find Billy dead, his body washed up on the beach. So that's all about the story of the open boat.